Well, good morning you lot. Hope you're all well and dandy. Sunday morning, we all have a Sunday morning. I've just finished editing a video for my other channel, and I was just about I wanted to film one for this channel, but I didn't really know what to film. I'm just trying to think of something to do. Well, I've got plenty of stuff to do, I just didn't know which thing I wanted to do. And then I got a message on Instagram from a person, and they've asked me a question about an engine. And I've literally just got this message, so I thought that's rather handy. Let's have a look to see if we can diagnose his problem and fix it now. So, I literally just got this message at 8:38, and look at the message at the time, 8:44. So, it says, "Hi mate, I've got an FTX Carnage NT second hand. It's my first ever RC. So, I'm a newbie. Having trouble getting it running. It nearly starts, but not quite. Engine's not good. Got good compression. I said not good. I was like, well, that's why. Engine's got good compression. I have tweaked the needles, but still nothing. I've checked the fuel lines, no blockages. Glow plug is fine, but I have just seen this. Not sure what this would be from." Now, we've got a picture, and I don't really know what we're looking at. I mean, what? I'm assuming it's a bit wet there, a little bit damp. I'm assuming you are asking, dude, where you think that dampness could be from. Now, to be honest, if I saw that, I wouldn't even... There's nothing. It's just a bit of damp. I mean, you get a lot of dampness and a lot of fuel around nitro engines. Anyway, you know, they're messy. They are messy. They're messy engines. Any nitro engine is a mess. Yeah, it's just the way they are. Yeah, you can clean them all the time, but when they're running, they're a mess. I keep saying it, but they're a mess. So I wouldn't think nothing of that. But let's start from the beginning, okay? So he says, having trouble getting it to run. It nearly starts. Okay, so we know that it nearly starts, and I'm assuming by nearly starts, he means that when he pulls, I don't know if it's got a pull start or if it's but anyway, when he tries to start it, it fires a few times and then it doesn't actually stay running. I'm assuming that's what he means by nearly starts, because that's about as close to starting as you can get. A few fires and then nothing else. So he says it nearly starts. And then he says, focus. Thank you very much. But not quite. Engine's got good compression, so he's checked the compression and it's got good compression, so we can roll compression out. Unless he doesn't know what he's talking about when it comes to compression. But we'll assume he does. I'm giving him some... I'm giving him a lot of credit here. He knows what compression is, so he's got good compression. I've tweaked the needles, so we're assuming that he's tweaked the needles properly, but still nothing. And he's checked the fuel lines for no blockages, so he's done all that. There's no blockages with the fuel, and he's also checked his glow plug, which is fine. The glow plug is working. So as we all know, a nitro engine needs a few things in order to run. It needs some fuel, it needs some air, it needs compression, and it needs a glow plug. You know, a source of ignition for the fuel. Now this person here, Jamie East 92, has checked all of those and they're all working fine. So why isn't his engine running? Well, if this was me, what I would probably do is I would put a little bit of fuel straight into the carburetor. Yeah, take the air filter off. I'll have to get an engine, I'll demonstrate in a minute. I'm not just going to sit here and talk. I'll get an engine, I'll demonstrate. Take the air filter off and put a little bit of fuel straight in that carburetor, and then see if it'll fire up. So here is an engine. Imagine it in a car. Air filter would normally go on here. Alright, there'd be an air filter on here. So what you can try is just get a little bit and just damp straight in there, okay? Straight in, only a little bit, not a lot, because you'll flood it. Now what that will do is, I know the air normally goes in here, but the fuel goes through this tube here and then goes across, and this is the crossover kind of part where it mixes with the air that's going in, and then it goes into the engine through here, so it just goes straight down. So you can put a little dab of fuel in the top there where the air normally goes in, and it will just bypass the fuel needle and everything. It won't run well, but what it will do is it will fire, and it will run for 2-3 seconds or maybe a bit longer on that little bit of fuel you've dumped in there. So if you think you might have a blockage here or anywhere, if you dump a bit of fuel in there, then and it fires up, you know that's could be the problem here. Could be a bit of a blockage. The other thing you can do, take the glow plug out and put a little bit of fuel straight in there, straight in the glow plug hole, only a little bit, because otherwise you'll flood it and it won't be able to turn over, and then you'll be you'll have to take the glow plug out and unflood it. But little bit of fuel in there, put the glow plug back in, and then see if it'll fire up. It'll run for a couple of seconds on that. That's a way that you can test, because you're bypassing the fueling system. You're bypassing the carburetor, which could be blocked. If it runs with the fuel going in the top there, but it doesn't run with your fuel pipe hooked up, you might have a blockage in your carb. So, that's what you can do. But it seems, by looking at the messages, I've been talking to him, and I said, have you tried putting fuel straight into the carb? And he said, what's the fuel if it is blah blah blah, I thought you would know. I have tried that, yes. So then I said, you messaged at the right time, you're going to be in a video now. So we've established that this person is completely new to nitro engines. Now nitro engines, they do have a bit of a knack. If you've got no experience with nitro engines, you can find it a bit difficult. And this person has no experience with nitro engines. So he says he's tried putting a bit of fuel straight in the carb, and it hasn't started. He also says in the messages that he's tried warming the engine up with a hairdryer. So far, everything, there's birds outside, everything is working. His glow plug is working, his glow starter is working, he's got no fuel blockages, he's got good compression, he's got fuel to the engine, he's got air to the engine, I would assume, obviously. So it should start, but it's not. What do we do next? So that person's stopped replying. I'm assuming he's gone off to try what I've told him to try. But in the event that you've got your glow plug, it appears to be working, your glow starter is obviously charged in order to test your glow plug. You looks like you've got fuel, but you've done all them checks and it's still not starting up. If I were you, what I would do is I would probably take the carb off and just make sure that that's not blocked. It's a good thing to do. Just take it off. You got a little. Where is it on this one? There it is. You got a little screw there on this one. And some of them it's a little bolt. You just undo it, and then the carb will just pop off. Just give it a spray out with a bit of carb cleaner or something like that, and make sure. You can always blow down the tube here as well. Put your pipe on and blow down it, and you should be able to blow through it all. Very slowly, but you should be able to blow through it. Make sure you can do all of that. I'll then keep trying, put a bit of fuel in there, heat the engine up nice and hot. You can use a hairdryer or you can use a dedicated engine heater, the ones that go around it. Heat it up nicely, put a bit of fuel in, make sure that your glow plug is 100% working. I can't really stress enough that the glow plug has got to be properly glowing. I don't know how to say it, because there's going to be a lot of people that probably would disagree, but in my experience, you can have a glow plug that kind of partially works. It'll glow it will glow a little bit further down on the little coils, the little coil of wire. It will glow further down into the plug, but the end of it doesn't want to glow anymore. So it's kind of half working. So in my experience, I've used glow plugs like that. The engine doesn't start and run particularly well, but it will work. But you need some knowledge. I don't know how to say it. It's just experience. You can get it to run, but it's difficult. So you've got to make sure the whole lot of that coil is glowing. Yeah, if it's just easier, and that's how it should be. Obviously, that's how it should be. What I'm trying to say is, if your plug's a bit dicky, you can still get it to run, but it's just not as easy. I don't know how else to explain it. A lot of you lot out there that are proper like posh, you know, and you'll just say, "Well, that's the problem. Change the globe plug." But it is. You do need to change that globe plug. I'm just making things overcomplicated for you lot, but fuck it. I'll give up with that bit. But anyway, make sure the glow plug's working. The whole coil, all of it, must be glowing red. The whole lot of it, from the very tip where it's welded or stuck onto the end of the plug, that all the way down must be glowing when you test it, okay? Simple as that. I've noticed a lot of you kind of posh lot, you don't like it when I tell you lot little bodges. You know, like you can get it to run if this, you can get it to run if that. You're all just like, no, you must do this properly, you must do that properly. That's the reason, do it all properly. Shut up. You know what I mean? It's just wing it. You know what I mean? That's what life's all about. It's alright for you Americans and Canadians that are really rich and got loads of money, because you can just go and buy glow plugs willy-nilly all the time. I'm only joking, you lot. That really got under some of you lot's collars, didn't it? And I did a video a while back where I was talking about Kevin Talbot and RC Sparks and all that. And I just said Canadians and Americans are all rich. And I got a lot of comments on that, and a lot of you lot, you didn't seem to like that. I thought it was funny. A lot of you lot took it. It was down to me. The way that I think is different to a lot of people, and the way I say things doesn't come out the way that I think it does. But a lot of you lot thought that I was thinking that God, that camera's heavy. That I was thinking that Americans and Canadians don't work hard, and English work hard. That's not what I was saying. I was just saying that it appears, yeah, from television and YouTube videos and what you see in places, that a lot of people have a lot of money in Canada, Australia and America. Yeah, every country's got its poor regions, and every country's got its rich regions, and every country's got its regions that are in the middle. Yeah, there's classes and names for them, but that's just complicated. So it depends where you live. You could live in a part that's really poor, and you can live in a part that's really rich, and you can live in the middle where you've got kind of, you're having a good life. And I thought that was funny. But anyway, back to the matter in hand. Yes, that engine. Right, let's have a think. So, there's not a lot to it in my opinion, right? Nitro engines are incredibly simple. All you got to do, and I'm going to try to help this person, this Jamie person, I'm going to try to help him the best I can through the messaging and all that, but... Oh, what's happened here? Oh, bloody hell. Right. Nitro engines are extremely simple engine. There's not a lot you can go wrong with them. So as long as you've got compression, he says he's checked compression, but what I would do is you've got 4 bolts, or screws in this case, on here that hold this head on, yeah? This is the heat sink, cooling head, whatever you want to call it. It's a head, it gets held on. There's a little thing called a button and a seal, or a head gasket, whatever you want to call it, a gasket, a seal, there's something in between there. Loads of people call them different things, and trying to, you know, make everybody understand here, so I'm going to call things loads of different names, that way you might get the gist of it. Sometimes that can start leaking, in which case you lose compression and fuel around at the edge here. That could be contributing as to why your engine won't start. So make sure that they're tight, and also when you pull it, yeah, but be in a nice quiet area and pull it over, and you might hear a psst, psst from around the edge. You've got a leak if you do. Also, you might have a bit of fuel coming out, but just check. Also, we know that we need fuel in air in order to start. Get your pipe that comes from the inlet side. Get your exhaust one there, blow through it all, take your pipe off of here, blow through it, make sure you've got a good flow of fuel coming out that pipe, and then put it back on. Take your air filter out, open up the throttle all the way like that, and then blow through the pipe again. You should feel the resistance go, yeah, when you're blowing, it'd just be easy. And you should also hear like a little where the fuel is going into the carb, and you might even see it going in, right? Don't keep blowing and putting loads of... What's happened here? We've got a bit of a flood. Bloody Jesus. Don't keep... I think it's a bit wet. Don't keep blowing it because you'll just flood the engine. But once you've heard that, you've heard the little bit and it goes in, that's it. You know, you haven't got a blockage around here and you haven't got a blockage in the carb, okay? If you've got a blockage in the carb, you won't hear any noise and you won't be able to... There'll be a lot of resistance, if you're not trying to say. You're blowing on this tube, you won't be able to blow. You know, if you haven't got a blockage, you'll be able to just keep feeding fuel into that engine until it floods, and then it will eventually start running out of the exhaust, if you really kept going. Assuming your piston's in the right place. So, I hope I'm not making it too complicated for you. So, make sure you got that right. Take your glow plug out, test that before you start. Make sure the whole coil is all glowing. Yeah, the whole lot of it. Put it back in. Get a hairdryer, a heat gun, but be careful if you can use a high industrial heat gun. I haven't got one to show you, I don't know what I've done with it, I've got a couple of them. But be careful if you're going to use an industrial heat gun, because they can get too hot and they can melt gaskets and they can melt pipes if you're not careful. I've melted a pull start before, I've not realised it, I'm sitting there doing that, and the bloody pull start's melted and then the strings melted off. So you've got to be careful with that. Use a hairdryer or a designated engine heater or a heat gun on a low setting far away or whatever you want to do. Make sure you just heat the top of the engine, try and heat the block, it's called a block, try and heat that down there if you can, but again be careful of plastic and rubber. Try and get it nice and hot and to give it the best chance of starting possible. Put it over a few times, make sure everything's good, make sure your glow starter's well and truly charged, and give it a go, you know what I mean? There's not really a lot else that can go wrong unless you've got like a cracked block or a main crankshaft seal gone or something and you're losing all your compression out of the bloody block. You know, there's not really a lot else that can go wrong. Your settings could be wrong on your needles, of course they can be, but assuming that you've done the test that I suggested beforehand, where you've put some fuel in the carb, because that'll bypass the needles. If you put fuel straight into that inlet there, right? If you put fuel straight in there, that'll bypass this needle, so it won't even matter. You could have this all the way closed, and you put the fuel in there, it's just going to go straight to the engine. So this needle does nothing if you put that in there. This needle only does its job if the fuel is going through this pipe in there, okay? So if you want to make sure that your needle is not blocked, or if your settings are wrong, put the fuel straight in here, and if it starts up and runs for a few seconds, you know the problem is with this inlet, with this needle, and then you can start adjusting it or checking for blockages. Right, hopefully that's explained that a bit better. Because the trouble that I get, you lot, the trouble I've got, to be perfectly honest, is I've got so much I want to tell you. I know I can get that engine running of his, that person on that messaging, I know I can get it running, but I've got so much I want to say, yeah, it kind of comes out a bit gobbledygooked and a bit messed up sometimes, so I'm sorry for that, but I'm trying to explain it the best I can. So I think we've got that clear now, you understand that. The same goes if you take the glow plug out and you put the fuel straight in that hole there. Okay, it bypasses the carburetor altogether, as I'm sure you can imagine. Put the glow plug in, put it over, obviously with the starter on it, and there's no reason why it won't start then, okay, unless you've got no compression and no glow plug. But as long as all that's good, it will start, and that gives you kind of a base. You know that it runs. By the way, I must point out that Jamie, that person, said that he's had that engine running a few times, but it wants to drive off. The revs are high and it wants to go, and now it won't start at all. So to me that suggests that the engine might be lean anyway, to be honest with you. That particular engine might be a bit lean anyway. he's either got the tick over screw too high, but he said he's turned that down and now it cuts out. So if I was him, I would turn that up a bit, get it so you're going to get it so you want a gap like that. If you can see that, a rough sort of gap sort of around there somewhere. Any lower it might be a bit low, any higher and it will start to rev away. So a gap somewhere around there. Make sure your servos are all set up properly with that on your transmitter. And it's just a case of playing around. That's what it is. You got to understand, and a lot of people don't understand, that nitro cars and nitro engines, they're temperamental until you start to get your experience and your knowledge together, and then you can just start it up and go, and you won't have any trouble. They take a lot of, they're finicky. They take a lot of setting up. They take a lot of messing around until you get them right. That's the way they are. That is the hobby. That is it. You know, you can get it set up right, so you can literally take it out, put it on the floor, start it up and go, and you'll have a whole day. But that's where your experience and knowledge comes in, you know. So, you know, when you get one of these, you need to learn. You're supposed to be learning, and you're supposed to be playing around. That is part of the hobby. Playing around and getting it to work is part of having one. If you know what I'm trying to say. But anyway, there's not a lot else really to do. So if you're having this, so to recap in hopefully a simpler version. Time for a recap in a simpler version, hopefully. If you've got an engine that won't start, like this person on the messaging, on the Instagram messages, check to make sure you've got enough compression. Make sure it feels good. You can't hear any hissing or psst, psst every time you pull the engine over. You've not got any leaks around here. These 4 bolts are tight. Take your fuel pipe off the exhaust part, take it off of here and blow through this side and hold this little tube out. Make sure you've got fuel coming out. If you've got fuel coming out, put that back in there. Take your glow plug out, make sure that's glowing. The whole coil of wire must glow red, the whole lot of it. If it's only half, go and get a new glow plug. Put that back in, put the starter on it, try to start it up. Obviously you've primed it, haven't you? You've blown through, you've primed the fuel first. If that doesn't work, put some fuel directly in here and then try to start it again. That should work. If it doesn't, put some fuel in here. Heat up the engine with a heat gun or a hairdryer or an engine heater if you've got one. Heat it up nicely. It should start then by putting fuel in either of these. There is no reason why it won't start after that if you've got good compression. So you've got to check all of those things and just play around. I can't emphasize enough that you need to experiment, you need to play around with those things, because there can only be a little problem and you'll be like, oh, that's what it was. So yeah, I hope that's not all complicated and gobbledygook for you, because I was trying my best to try and get out to you exactly what you need to do. But set yourself some time aside, because there's no point in getting frustrated because it won't start in your body there. As I keep saying, part of the hobby of a nitro car is that you play with it, and sometimes it will be a bit finicky and it won't work, and then you've got to get it to work, you know, problem solving. Yeah, that's what it is. That is part of the hobby. That's the enjoyment of that hobby. If you don't like that, nitro is not for you. So anyway, I'm going to keep on the Instagram messaging, trying to get this person's car to run for him. But yeah, that was quite handy. That was. I was literally gearing up. I just got the camera out, finished in editing that other video, got the camera, and I was thinking, right, let's do an RC video. What can I do a video of? I don't know what I was going to do really. I really don't. I was going to play around with an RC car and film it. But anyway, that was good timing. So yeah, they're simple, but if you don't know what you're doing, they can be quite difficult sometimes. But as long as you've got those main things together, you'll get your engine running. And perseverance and patience is definitely the key. I will say, if you're starting to get a bit frustrated, you know, if you've been at it for half an hour or so and your engine just doesn't want to start and you can't see why, one of the best things you can do is to just stop playing with it, go and do something else, go and play a game, or go out for a walk, or just go and do something else. Have some food, have some dinner, play with the kids, go and have some fun with your girlfriend or your wife or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, clear your mind. And then when you come back, you'll look at it and you'll be like, oh, bloody hell, look at that. God, that's why it weren't starting. Look, the bloody carburetor's not even bolted on, or something like that. You know what I mean? You'll be like, you've got a fresh set of fresh eyes, and you'll spot things that you weren't spotting before because you was getting fatigued with it. You know, you was getting frustrated with it. So just a little bit of time out from it, and that will help you a lot. So there you go, you lot. Hopefully, you know, you'll be all right now. But I will say, if you're having any trouble, just put it in the comments, and me and everyone else who watches the videos will hopefully try and help you out and get you going again. Yeah. I'll catch you on the next one, you lot. All the best. And now, my mind's going about this person's car, so I'm going to keep thinking. I'm going to keep sending him messages until we got his car running, and hopefully it will get running soon. And you lot are going to go and have a good day because it's a Sunday, and enjoy yourselves. All the best.